Batman Beyond introduced a new wave of Batman villains with elegant designs and imaginative gimmicks. While the villains of Batman the Animated Series were mainly driven by tragedy and a desire for revenge, these new villains instead were more cruel, selfish people that didn't care about the lives they ruined in order to achieve their goals. Villains like Blight, Inque and Spellbinder only cared about one thing: money. But then we have Stalker, someone who was no saint, but he wasn't all that villainous really. This was a man motivated by a desire to prove himself to be the best in his chosen field: hunting. Before we get to his appearance in the show, let's start by looking at his comic book counterparts. So Stalker shares a lot in common with Spider-Man villain Kraven the Hunter. They both came to the respective homes of their chosen prey, costume superheroes, with a desire to capture them as proof of their superiority. And it should be noted that Batman Beyond borrows a lot from Spider-Man in particular, and I've done a video about that, which you can watch after this video if you're particularly interested in the subject. There have been a couple of characters named Stalker, most notably Paul Levitt's and Steve Ditko's version, but he was a sword and sorcery type character unconnected to this. The most relevant character appeared in Detective Comics 401. A one-and-done villain named the Stalker turns up in Gotham. This Stalker was Carlton Yeager, a famed big game hunter that sought out the most challenging hunt of his career: Batman. In a move befitting his chosen name, Yeager stalked Batman, learning his secret identity, and sent the Cape Crusader a clear message by firing a bolt through his window, shattering his TV screen. Of course, the Stalker didn't care about Batman's civilian identity. He knew that Batman was his true form. He just wanted to show his superiority over Batman and hopefully goad him into making some sloppy mistakes. Every time Batman thought he had the drop on the Stalker, it would transpire that he was always one step ahead, arranging for pre-recorded videos to be played, directing Batman to the next deadly trap. The Stalker impersonated Alfred, pretending to be in peril to lure Batman close to him, but Batman saw through the disguise. Apparently his footwear was far too clean. If Alfred had really walked through the construction site, his shoes would have been caked in mud. The Stalker, meanwhile, stumbled into one of his own traps, getting impaled on spikes at the bottom of a pit. It's worth noting that I haven't actually been able to find any other appearances of this character, and you might say, well duh, that's because he died. But you know how things are in comic books. Nobody stays dead forever. Except for maybe the Waynes. And Uncle Ben. Before getting to Batman Beyond, I thought it would be worth mentioning a character that was considered for Batman the Animated Series that shared a similar motive to the Stalker. The show's writer's Bible mentioned a wealthy peer of Bruce Wayne who set up an illegal hunt on his private island, drawing the ire of Catwoman. Now, this character never appeared, and he wasn't even given a name in this outline, but it's interesting to think about what might have been. So now we get to the character that we saw in Batman Beyond. Stalker made his debut in the episode Bloodsport. No name is ever given to the Stalker, we just know that he is a wealthy man. He checks into the palatial penthouse suite of a hotel that towers over the Neo-Gotham skyline. You need to be earning some serious bank to be staying at a place like that. And that he is a former poacher, and he is there to capture the deadliest prey known to man: Batman. There's a neat contrast between the technologically advanced world of Neo-Gotham and the more back-to-basics approach that the Stalker takes, donning a big cat's pelt and standing before an open fire as he prepares to hunt Batman. As an aside, I think the fact that the black cat pelt makes him resemble the original Batman is a very smart visual reference that doesn't get talked about enough. Stalker knows that Batman is a human being. In fact, he's one of the few villains to deduce who Batman really is, but he believes that Batman is inhabited by a great spirit that powers all great warriors, and that spirit is his true target, not Terry McGinnis. All he wants is the prestige of having defeated the legendary Batman. Having said that, he's more than happy to get to Batman through his friends and family as he kidnaps Terry's younger brother Matt in order to bring Batman close to him. While many of his methods may be old-fashioned, Stalker has not rejected modernity. Far from it. We see that he has a cybernetic eye that allows him to see different light spectrums, as well as a radioactive tracker that he snags Batman with. Stalker is a blend of the old world and the new, using established hunting techniques alongside his cybernetically enhanced body. The problem for Stalker was that these enhancements made traditional hunting all too easy for him, and he would need more stimulating prey. You may ask why he bothered with the enhancements if it made things too easy for him, but we later learn that he didn't really have much choice in the matter. Years ago, Stalker had been one of the greatest hunters in the world, but one day he was mauled by a big black jungle cat that left him critically injured and unable to walk. As a result, he underwent an experimental procedure to replace his broken spine with cybernetic enhancements. Storyboards from the episode by the late great Darwin Cook showed the surgeons removing individual vertebrae and placing them in a tray, but this was changed for multiple reasons. Firstly, because the episode was running long, and also this segment was deemed to be too gruesome. It explicitly showed the Stalker was undergoing surgery without anesthesia, and apparently that was just too much. Even so, the scene we get in the episode is still quite horrific, made all the more impactful by the harsh red light and the contorted, painful expression on Stalker's face. There may be no blood and gore in the scene, but the harsh red light manages to be more disturbing than seeing everything in explicit detail. And to think that Warner Brothers executives wanted Batman Beyond to be a more child-friendly show. Lol. He's very clearly traumatized by his encounter with the Black Cat, and is constantly trying to prove himself to be the superior hunter in an effort to overcome his trauma. He was able to track down the cat and make short work of it with his enhancements, and he wears its pelt as a reminder of what it did to him and how he bested it. But that did nothing to resolve his psychological issues, and so he keeps looking for bigger, more dangerous prey. Later in the episode, his cybernetic eye malfunctions, and he interprets the distorted image of Batman as the big black cat, the spirit that inhabits warriors, returning to finish him off. In a panic, Stalker flees into the night, right into the path of an oncoming train. His body was never found, however, so it was only a matter of time before he would return. And return he did in 2 issues of the second volume of the Batman Beyond comics. Both stories were written by series writer Hilary J. Bader, which makes them canon to the show in my mind. Although there's one story I'd rather wasn't canon, but I'll get to that in a minute. This first appearance came in issue 6, where Terry and his friends go on a camping trip to a remote island, not realising that it's Stalker's hunting grounds that he has filled with a menagerie of spliced animals, such as a flying lion and, my personal favourite, the Hippo Rex. After Terry's friends get caught in one of Stalker's traps, Stalker agrees to free them on the condition that Batman joins him on this hunt. After all of the animals were defeated, Stalker tried to capture Batman, but wound up getting caught in one of his own traps and carted off to the authorities. Stalker returns in the Season 2 episode Plague. The snake-worshipping cult Cobra has come to Gotham and intends to release a deadly plague, unwittingly carried by the assassin Falseface. The NSA recruits Stalker to terminate Falseface, but with this being Gotham, Stalker enlists Batman's help. We can clearly see that Stalker holds no animosity towards Batman. If anything, he holds him in high regard, but that doesn't mean he's a hero. Stalker is comparatively impatient and ruthless. Batman would rather take his time and interrogate suspects. Stalker prefers to attack first and figure things out later. But that doesn't mean he's without mercy. After Batman gets trapped under rubble in a burning building, Stalker rescues him, saying that it would not be right for one such as Batman to die that way. He dreams of killing Batman himself one day, proving himself to be the better man. And with friends like that, who needs enemies, right? Stalker's next appearance comes in Batman Beyond Volume 2, Issue 18, where he comes to Gotham to get Batman's help, once again, capturing his most deadly and elusive prey yet, the returning Blight. Now, I neglected to mention this comic in my Blight video, mostly because I really don't like how they temporarily brought Blight back after his perfect ending in the episode Ascension. In my mind, it was one of those non-canon Batman Beyond 2.0 comics, but no, this story is canon. I really don't like that they brought Blight back with amnesia. Ugh. And by the end of the issue, he's rendered inert after being bathed in molten lead, effectively returning him to his state of being deceased. So why bother bringing him back and undoing that perfect ending? Anyway, that gripe aside, the rest of the comic is pretty decent. There's a cool full-page spread of Blight's corpse being displayed in Stalker's trophy room, but I still feel like this undermines one of the defining moments of this Batman's career. It does, however, seem to have satisfied Stalker, who looks very content in his trophy room. Stalker makes one final animated appearance in the episode Epilogue, but it's important to remember that these black and white flashbacks aren't actually flashbacks to events that happened. They're scenarios playing through Terry's mind while he's talking to Amanda Waller. Note that they're in ultra widescreen and black and white, while the real flashbacks are in regular widescreen and colour. Also, each of these scenes starts or ends with a word being used in Terry's conversation with Amanda Waller. This also shows us that Terry thinks of Stalker as being a villain, as a part of the Iniquity collective with Shriek, Inque and a funky-looking version of the Parasite. In terms of other appearances, Stalker has only appeared in the mainline DC Comics Batman Beyond series in one storyline. Stalker is named in this comic as Shaka Okoro, and he comes to Gotham riding on one of the Royal Flush Gang's flying playing cards, for some reason, I guess just because it looks cool. Rather than being motivated by his insecurities, Stalker acts as an assassin of sorts for the betterment of his home village, which was experiencing a famine. The most important thing to note about this Stalker is that he has suffered additional injuries, the main one being that he's missing his legs and now has cybernetic limbs. Surprise, surprise, Batman is able to defeat him and at the same time saves his life. When Stalker asks why Batman saved his life, he responds, "It's what I do." So Stalker was unsuccessful in defeating Batman and returned home to his village with his metaphorical tail between his legs. However, Batman came to the village with ample supplies from Wayne Enterprises. When Stalker says they can't possibly accept because they have no way to pay for it, Batman tells them that they don't owe him anything because it was the right thing to do. This is a nice sentiment and really highlights the selflessness of Terry McGinnis's Batman, but I must admit, I did roll my eyes at the stereotypical depiction of an African country. Maybe I'm an idealist, but I like to think that much of Africa would be out of poverty some 40 years from now. Still, that aside, it shows Stalker to be gracious in defeat and accepting of Batman's help, which is a pleasant ending to his story, even if it isn't part of the same universe as the show. So, in summary, Stalker is technically a villain. He does villainous things. He was a poacher. He kidnapped children. And he was not afraid to kill. But he's not like Batman's other foes. Inque, Spellbinder and Blight are merciless and do terrible things in the pursuit of the almighty dollar. Villains like Big Time, Willy Watt and Terminal are motivated by a desire for respect that comes from a place of arrogance. They think they deserve the respect they're lacking. Stalker, meanwhile, is motivated by his insecurities. He was brutally ripped apart by a wild animal, and losing mobility would have been very difficult for him to deal with. He went through staggering pain to restore himself, but it cost him his joy. While he is trying to prove himself constantly, he's not trying to prove himself to others. He's trying to prove himself to himself. I think that calling him a villain is perhaps a bit reductive. He has a code of honor and is capable of heroic deeds, but I wouldn't call him a hero by any means. Okay, that's it for this week's essay. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, tell all your friends about me. You know how YouTube works. If you really enjoyed the video and have the means, please consider making use of the thanks button to send a buck or two my way, because every little helps. I offer channel memberships for $1.99 a month. This will get you early access to my weekly video essay, priority responses to your comments, members-only videos, custom emojis, and an icon on your profile indicating that you're one of my people. And special thanks to my current channel members, who are all listed on the screen right now. Next time I'm going to take a look at one of the original characters created for Batman the Animated Series that never managed to take off, but I suspect he went on to inspire a more recent prominent Batman character. We're going to talk about the ninja, Kyodai Ken. Hope to see you then.